Has the Yankees' hot start been fraudulent? We debate whether or not their winning ways are sustainable or if they're a fluke. Speaking of the Yankees, we're going to stay right there and deep dive Juan Soto's numbers and break down his swing to tell you what makes him so great. Then, finally, we are going around the MLB talking division leaders and telling you which current division leaders will be the division leaders by year's end. And you are not going to want to miss any of it. And it's all coming up next on the Bush League Bros. Roll the open.
Now, certainly plenty of fanfare between these two brothers.
Just complete Bush League.
The little brother just trying to annoy big brother.
If you look at it on the surface, it's Bush League.
Something about that sticks in my craw.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Bush League Bros, partner of the House Call Sports. I'm here with Taylor. My name is Matt, and today we're talking about Juan Soto and the Yankees, as well as some MLB division leaders. But first, I'm gonna need y'all to subscribe to the channel. We will be here to cover this 2024 MLB season. We were gone for a couple of weeks, mostly because Taylor got arrested. I had to bail him out. Something about an illegal bookie and a dude named Ipe. I don't know, but from here on out, we will be here. So if you like what you hear, or even if you don't like what you hear, subscribe. Now, let's get into this Yankees discussion because they have been baseball's best team so far, currently sitting at a 10-3 record as we are recording this without their ace Garrett Cole as well, and they have won all 4 series so far against 4 playoff teams from last season. So getting big contributions from young players and bounce backs from veteran stars, but they do have some concerns as far as sustainability goes, overall pitching, and they've gone 5-0 in one-run games so far, and that is bound to even out. So Taylor, I'm going to you, man. Has this Yankee start been a fluke, or can this continue?
Well, like you said, there are definitely some signs that, maybe there's some regression coming, and obviously, starting 10-3, there's probably regression for any team. But one of the reasons why I think the Yankees can sustain this is the direction that Carlos Rodon has gone to start the year. I really like that he's developing a couple different offerings to complement his fastball slider combo, and I think that's huge for the Yankees as a team, because going into the year, everybody was talking about Rodon. He's this clear X factor for this team because of the questions about the rest of the pitching staff, and especially once the Garrett Cole injury news came out. And last year, he was basically just a fastball slider guy. That's kind of traditionally what he's been in the past. And these days, that's not a very unique pitch mix. So if that's all you're rolling with, you've got to be throwing nasty sliders and really, really intimidating fastballs. But this year, he's expanding that mix so far in the starts we've seen from him. In his last start against the Marlins, he threw 10 changeups and more cutters than sliders. He threw 16 cutters and he threw 15 sliders. He still has that great fastball velocity, and so far he's throwing the slider a tick harder this year and the changeup a tick slower this year. And, this might be some early season variance, but I think that that's more of an effort to create more of a separation of velocity between his secondary pitches, because last year the slider and changeup were basically the same velocity, and now they're about 2.5 miles apart, which is more than enough to disrupt a hitter's timing. And that cutter has also been a really big pitch for him, and that's sitting around 91, so that puts that right in between his fastball and his slider velocity wise. And that cutter usage is really important for him because it gets hitters off of that fastball a bit. It gives him another offering that hitters are going to need to look for up in the zone. It gives him a pitch that he can potentially generate more ground balls with, which is a big issue for him. And it's another offering that that'll play well against right-handed hitters and will potentially pair well with the changeup that he threw a bunch in that last start against the Marlins. And even Alex Verdugo was excited post-game to talk about Rodon's pitch mix. He was all excited that he was throwing changeups, and there are obviously still some concerns. He's not out of the woods yet. He had a really bad home run problem last year, and so far this year he's still giving up a lot of fly balls and not generating a ton of swing and miss. So, and he gave up, I think, 2 home runs versus Arizona in his second start. But it feels like with each start he's trending more in the right direction, and I do think we're starting to see Rodon transition from more of one of those guys that just relied on stuff to get by, and it feels like now he's becoming more of a pitcher. And I think that there is a lot of reason for optimism there, especially because we need somebody to hold down the top of that rotation for the Yankees until Cole comes back. If he can pitch to that high 3s, low 4s range and just get deep into games, you got to be really, really happy with that. And I think the rest of the rotation I feel pretty good about too. And that's something, if you're looking for a team to win a division, you need starting pitching depth. And I feel pretty confident in what the Yankees have right now. You kind of know what you're getting from Nestor, Stroman, and Schmidt. They're going to provide stability in the middle of that rotation. Luis Gil has looked good so far. Luke Weaver's a depth option. I'm not overwhelmed by his talent necessarily, but he's a good depth option. And JT Brubaker could also be some additional depth that the Yankees just traded for recently, and he should be back at some point this year. And then in the minors, you've got Will Warren, who is already looking pretty polished. He just has a couple things to tighten up, mostly just some command stuff. And Clayton Beater also has some really nice stuff in the minors too. And there's a chance that later in the year, if he can work on some things, we might see him as well. So you need starting pitching to win a division, and I think the Yankees have that, and especially with Rodon pitching well, like this team has plenty of options, so they don't need to rush Cole back, which is huge because you got to keep him healthy, and you want him pitching at full strength in August. And on the offensive side, I mean, we're going to talk about some of these guys a little bit later, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but the Yankees starting out 10-3. We're recording this on Friday evening. I think the game against the Guardians tonight just got postponed. 10-3. Judge has a 744 OPS, and that is my biggest. That is my biggest, and it's a pretty simple argument for the fact that I think this success is going to continue. Because if I were to tell you that the Yankees went on a 10-3 run in 2024, you'd be like, "Oh wow, I bet Judge was just going nuclear for 13 games, and that's what happened." And that's not what's happening this year, and it's because of the balance and consistency of the lineup. The home runs, they're going to come and go, but the teams that can have good at bats and hit the ball hard are going to find consistent success. And as of Friday morning, the Yankees are leading the league in pitches per plate appearance with 4.18. They're working themselves into hitters counts like 2-0 and 3-1 more than almost any other team, and they've developed this really cool dog mentality, very Brett Gardner-esque, and that is exactly the vibe that I want with this team going forward. And honestly, the acquisition of Juan Soto has been the heart of that movement. He's kind of championed that style of play, and we're going to dive deeper into him in the next segment, but it's hard for me to say that this team is not going to stay on top of this division if the pitching remains consistent and if Judge and Soto stay healthy. It's hard to argue against this team.
Taylor, to your point, man, as far as the pitching depth goes, I think most of us Yankee fans, obviously we're both Yankee fans, most of us Yankee fans at the beginning of the year, after we traded for Soto, I kind of talked about it in the preseason episode, it felt like we traded all of our pitching depth for Juan Soto, but you see, like you mentioned, you see Rodon come in and he looks like an MLB pitcher again. It's not like we need these guys to be like their former all-star selves anymore. We just need them to be MLB players at this point, and that's what Rodon has been. Nestor's look really good. Luis Gil, his stuff is filthy. We would like him to get a little bit deeper into games. But for the concerns about the Yankees, I'm with you guys who have concerns about the Yankees, because I hear you. Okay, everyone who watches this show knows we're Yankees fans at this point. Okay, so again, the critiques are understandable, but do you really think for 1 minute, after the level of baseball we've watched from this team in the first 4 series of the season, that I'm going to come in here and rain on their parade? Hell no, I ain't doing it. This ain't a fluke. This team is really good. Coming into the year, we knew about the additions. Okay, obviously Juan Soto, Verdugo, Stroman, we knew about all of them, most of which have been really good to great. Okay, but they were still going to be relying on veterans who have been there, who have been good in the past, and young players who have also, shown flashes but haven't quite put it together. Okay, that's where a lot of the detractors were saying, oh, all they did was add Soto, everyone else has flaws, which is true to a certain extent, okay? But those same detractors fail to understand that a lot of these veterans that were bad in 2023, no doubt about it, they were good in 2022 and just kind of had off years for whatever reason it was. 2022, Nestor Cortez threw 158 innings at a 2.44 ERA and a .92 whip, was an all-star and was 8th in the AL Cy Young. But in 2023, he was hurt from the start of the season. If you guys remember, he had a hamstring issue in February, kind of affected the start of his season. He had to try to rush back, and then he ended up hurting his shoulder, limiting him to 63 innings at basically a 5 ERA last year, and he was terrible, okay? Carlos Rodon's story, like Taylor mentioned, very similar. Obviously, him being at a higher level, though. He was top 6 in NL Cy Young in both 2021 and 2022. In 2022, he led the NL in FIP at a 2.24 and Ks per 9 at 12, okay? So this guy was really, really good. Then last year, obviously, he also started with a back injury, screwed his whole season up, and messed his whole timing up, and obviously, he pitched close to damn near a 7 ERA, culminated by his final start in 2023, if you guys remember, in Kansas City, where he gave up 8 runs and didn't get a single out. Okay, he couldn't have been much worse than he was, and he also couldn't have handled himself much worse than he did last year. He handled himself really, really poorly, okay? And again, these are just 2 very good examples of many different veterans on the team, why it was hard to believe, for some people to believe in the Yankees. Other guys like Stroman, he was great to start off 2023, then he got hurt and struggled. Clark Schmidt started off 2023 bad, then was solid. Offensively, Rizzo was kind kind of the same. 2023, he was awesome until he got that concussion. Then he was terrible. DJ started terrible. Then he was good in 2023. Stanton was solid in 2022, but was awful in 2023. So again, lots of guys that hadn't completely put it together in a season or so, but all guys besides Clark throughout their careers who you could see them playing at an all-star caliber level, and we aren't that far removed from any of that, you know? So it wasn't unreasonable to say, hey, these guys are going to have, you know, these guys had some sort of weird outlier 2023s this year. They're going to be back to maybe not being great again, or not even good again as they were in 2022, just much better than they were in 2023. And I think that has shown to be the case so far. And because this rotation has pitched well, and Taylor, like you mentioned, this offense is scoring runs without Judge, without Gleyber Torres, who was their best player, basically their best hitter throughout all last year, and without Rizzo really producing. And all three of those hitters, I probably would have penciled in outside of Soto to be the most likely to hit well in this lineup this year. None of those three have produced well, and the offense is still scoring runs without those three producing. How are they scoring well without those three producing? Well, obviously the additions, like I mentioned in the offseason. I don't know about you, Taylor. I've loved what I've seen from Verdugo, just having winning at-bats consistently. Like you mentioned, that mindset. He has big at-bats and big situations. Verdugo has that dog mentality as well. And I think we'll see a lot of meaningful contributions from other vets, Trent Grisham and John Birdie, coming off the bench as well. But these young guys are stepping up, okay? Other things you heard from detractors from the Yankees in the offseason were Volpe and Oswaldo can't hit. Who knows about Wells? Again, those were fair criticisms coming into the season. But also, again, it wasn't unreasonable to think that 21 to 25-year-old players who just got their first big league experience would come back a year later and be better, okay? And Volpe, Taylor, Volpe's been amazing, okay? The maturity at the plate he's shown so far is absolutely incredible. We saw it in spurts last year. Overall, last year, 2023 was a terrible year for him offensively, but he would have a 5-game stretch here, a 10-game stretch there, a 3-game stretch there, where you saw, okay, this is kind of why he was a top 5 prospect in all of baseball. But all of that was a really long-winded way of saying all it took was a normal offseason, some physical tweaks for some players, some mental tweaks for other players. This team was awful in 2023. They were embarrassed in 2023. The product was terrible to watch, okay? You don't think that puts fire under everyone's ass in the offseason, makes them want to show up and perform better, live up to expectations? We've seen that all to be true. And I think this is a full-on revenge season for a lot of these guys. So although I am still concerned with Cole being injured, obviously, you know, he's kind of starting to ramp himself back up, I think this success is very sustainable for this team going forward. And I think it should not be underestimated, Taylor. These guys are really, really good.
They are, and the scary thing is they've had this amount of success, and they're not even hitting the ball that hard yet. They've only got a 7% barrel rate right now, which is tied with the A's and the Mets, and it's just exciting to see this team be able to grind down pitchers. It really does remind you of older Yankees teams, and, you know, certain players that I don't want to make comps to because it might be a little too early. Right. But it's really, really nice to see.
It's amazing to see, and we've talked about it already, Taylor, and it's time to get into that guy that we really want to talk about, and it's Juan Soto. A part of this that people are underestimating, Taylor, is how much effect on a baseball team one truly great player can have, and that's what Juan Soto has done for the Yankees. Not only his on-field numbers and profile, but that obviously the lefty and a righty-dominant lineup who is amazing at getting on base and hitting in front of Judge. Everybody knew that already, but people don't take into account his mindset, Taylor. Not only how he actually thinks about hitting, as far as just not trying to hit homers, being a complete hitter, that showed itself in the young players as well, but his impact and his mindset from at bat to at bat from the entire team. Nobody's taking a pitch off anymore. Everybody's locked in on their approaches. Every single pitch, they know what they're looking for, and they're not chasing. Soto's been a leader. Energy's been infectious, and his mindset is amazing. And it's why Juan Soto is who he is and why the Yankees are who they are to start off the season. And we got to get right into that, man. We're going to talk all things Soto, his numbers, his swing. We want to break down his swing all the way down. So, Taylor, talk to me about Juan Soto, why he's so good, and how he's impacted the Yankees so far.
Baseball is obviously, you know, a team game. They always call it kind of like that team game where it consists of individual battles. So a lot of times it's hard to tell how much better a team is going to get by adding one player. Soto has just created this effect that has trickled down to everyone else, like you were talking about, because as of today, or as of Friday afternoon when I looked up these numbers, the Yankees are tied for the best chase rate at 22.7%, which is down from 27% last year. And for reference, Soto's career chase rate is 16.8%. So they're trending more in the direction of a Soto approach there. They also have the second lowest whiff rate this this year at 20.6%, which is down from 27.1% from last year. Soto's career chase rate is 21.1%. So they're actually a little bit better than Soto on that front right now as a team. You just mentioned Volpe. His whiff rate has gone from, in 2023, it was 28.1%. He's at 12.2% this year.
Crazy.
While still swinging at pitches in the zone at a similar rate, still swinging at meatballs at a similar rate. You know, in a 3-game series against opposing pitchers, like, this is a tough team to face, because by the third game, like, these guys are going to have grinded down your bullpen, and in the third game, they're going to be able to feast. And we saw that in the Toronto series specifically in that third game. From a team culture perspective, like, this is just I underestimated the effect he would have on that front. Oswaldo Cabrera had a nice quote. He just said, he's incredible. He's not just a good baseball player outside of the field. He's an amazing person too. Everybody loves the guy inside and outside the field. When we're in a cage, I feel like I'm just a kid watching a hero. Honestly, everybody just seems more loose this year. It just seems like everybody's more comfortable. Juan Soto is the first guy in baseball that I know of that's made taking pitches and walking just super cool. Like, he makes it sexy, and that shows in the rest of the lineup. They have that swagger when they draw walks, and I absolutely love that. Obviously, we both love Aaron Judge, but he's typically just shown this more stoic personality on the field, and I really like the combination of their contrasting personalities, because I think it creates this nice middle ground where you have Judge's stoicism, but then Soto's flash, and they're both, I think, equally great superstars, just in different ways. And I think that's just created such an interesting culture for this lineup.
I love the point that you just made about Soto and Judge being different superstars, because I'm going to kind of get into that as far as my swing breakdown goes, because it's funny how different their swings and approaches are. And, you know, they hit 2 and 3 in the same lineup, and they're, you know, 2 of the best hitters of our generation, you know. So it's a really interesting dichotomy. But listen, so like I said, I'm going to break down Juan Soto's swing. So for me, listen, okay, I don't like to be this guy, okay, but I do coach hitting. I've got a lot of young hitters, some of who are like 12 and under, some are in high school, some have gone to college. I myself, I played 4 years of college baseball and played in leagues with a bunch of now MLB guys. I studied hitting from former MLB and professional hitters, and I just love watching hitters, listening to people talk about hitting and hitters talk about hitting and everything involved with it. So I do know a little bit about it. I don't know everything about it, okay? I'm still learning. There's a lot of people. Nobody knows everything about hitting. There's not one way to hit. I'll talk about that. There's a lot of people who know way more than me, okay? So don't take me as the end-all, be-all hitting guru, because I'm not, okay? There isn't one way to hit. Nobody has the same stance, the same swing, and there's tons of different approaches pitch to pitch that great hitters use, okay? The fact that Soto hits 2 and Judge hits 3 in the Yankees order shows you this, because they have similarities in their numbers, but they have, and they're obviously 2 of the best we've ever seen, but they also have completely different stances, completely different approaches, swings, and think about hitting completely different. Is either of them wrong? Hell no. They're just different, okay? They're both great. So I'm just telling you what I see and why I think a player, and in this case, Soto's case, is great, okay? Because I'm sure there's going to be some butthurt coaches in the comments who disagree with what I'm saying, and that's fine, okay? With all that being said, there's a ton of things that make a great hitter a great hitter. There's tons of things great hitters have to do every swing and every pitch to be great hitters, okay? These are just the most noteworthy things that I see with Soto, why he is the way he is. Number one with Juan Soto, look at Juan Soto's head when he swings the bat, okay? Why do I say this? There's 2 very important things attached to Juan Soto's head and every great hitter's head. It's his left eye and his right eye, okay? Your eyes as a hitter are the single most important thing for you to be a hitter. A lot of people get this twisted. They talk about physical parts of the swing, where I just talked about a lot of physical adjustments that Volpe made, and they are very important, obviously, the physical adjustments, and can lead you to actually seeing the ball better, which I'll talk about with Soto. Obviously, there's huge mental component to the game as well, whether it's overcoming failure, situational hitting, knowing how pitchers are going to attack you. All that is massively important as well. But Taylor, you saw that completely blind MLB guy a couple years ago, right?
No. What?
He didn't either.
Oh, okay.
Do you get it?
Wow.
Do you get it?
Yeah,
So
you just cooked me. That's like my kind of joke, and I didn't even pick up on it.
So I make that joke with all my kids the first time I coach them. Just basically, I'm just emphasizing how important your vision is to the swing. Like I'll make the kids, right? I'll talk about the 3 different aspects I just talked about: mental, visual, and physical. I'll talk to them and I'll ask them which one's most important. A lot of them say physical, a lot of them say mental. So I'll be like, okay, close your eyes. And then I'll throw them a pitch with their eyes closed. Obviously they don't hit it, you know what I'm saying? And then I'll be like, okay, which one do you think's most important now? And it's vision. You need to have vision as a priority as a hitter. A lot of people train it just as they do physical mechanics. I don't know if Soto does that or not. I I didn't do research into if he trains his vision or not. I bet he probably does, considering how good it is. But I know that his physical mechanics lead to whatever his vision is right now being completely optimized. His head does not move. You watch his head during his swing. It doesn't move down. It doesn't move forward. It doesn't move up. It doesn't move back. It stays in the exact same spot. When your head stays in the same spot, your eyes stay in the same spot. When your eyes stay in the same spot, your brain is allowed to accurately interpret the images that your eyes are seeing. Whereas if you see someone like Elly De La Cruz, Taylor, who has a massive leg kick, he has a big drift forward, and he comes up out of his legs a lot, he'll jump up with his body and he'll basically finish standing up. So his eyes go up and forward. And so he has a really hard time with his eyes just interpreting the same image of what the pitch actually is. And I only bring up Elly De La Cruz because he and Soto are both from the Dominican and they were hitting with each other this offseason. Soto was trying to influence Elly De La Cruz, and their swings are so different. I'm not picking on Elly. It's just me showing the difference between two really talented guys, one who is more polished and doesn't chase, and one who is a little more raw and chases a lot. Now, how does Juan Soto keep his eyes in the same spot? That brings me to number 2. Look at his legs. This guy uses his legs better than anyone in baseball to me. He has such a wide stance and he sits so low in his legs that his balance and stability are incredible. Okay, it's so hard for him to get off balance just strictly based on his positioning in the box. Okay, and balance is obviously crucial to a hitter's swing as well, but it also allows him to stay back incredibly. The use of his legs, that is. I'm sure all of us who have played baseball in our lives have had a coach tell us to stay back. You know, you got to stay back. You got to stay back, right? But what does that really mean? All that really means is, can you sit on your backside and your head and body not move forward after your front foot hits the ground? What a lot of bad hitters do is they'll drift their hips forward and their weight, all of their body weight will get onto their front side and it'll cause their head to go forward as well. This is obviously, you know, if your head goes forward, your eyes go forward. So basically, when your eyes are going this way and the pitch is going this way too, you're unintentionally speeding the pitch up because your eyes are getting closer to the pitch that's getting closer to you. Whereas if you have a guy stay here with his eyes and the pitch go here and the pitch is coming towards you, you have way more time to make an accurate decision just based on how your physical mechanics are. What does Juan Soto do more and better than any player in baseball? He makes an accurate decision on every single pitch, okay? Every pitch, a hitter has 2 decisions. Yes or no. Yes, I'm swinging, or no, I'm not, okay? Juan Soto can make accurate yes decisions on pitches in the zone that he can handle. Juan Soto can make accurate no decisions on pitches out of the zone that are way tougher to handle because he stays back, okay? And he sits on his lower half and his head doesn't pop up, giving him way more time than the average hitter to make an accurate swing decision. But making the right decision doesn't always matter if your swing is trash, which brings me to my 3rd reason why Juan Soto is so good, and his swing is so short and his hands stay back. He'll tell you himself he's basically trying to take the most direct path and stay as short to the baseball as he possibly can, okay? Watch his on-deck swings, his warm-up swings, his swings in between pitches, batting practice, every single swing he takes, you'll see it. He ain't trying to do home run derby swings. He's trying to hit low line drives to all parts of the field, and he actually does that in the games because his swing is so short. He stays so connected, which basically means his hands and his arms stay close to his body. He doesn't get far away from his body with his hands and his arms. He stays so close to his body with his hands and his arms. And because his hands stay back, go watch the front view and the side view of his at-bat with Josh Hader versus Houston, okay? Yes. Hader was working him in a lot with fastball slider, basically. And then obviously, on the pitch that Soto ends up hitting, Hader dots a fastball on the outside corner at like 98 miles an hour, okay? I don't know if any other left-handed hitter in baseball hits that pitch doing what Soto did on the swing. Watch the swing. He immediately pulls his front hip and pushes his butt back. Like he slides so basically Soto goes this way and the pitch is going this way, right? The pitch is going to the outside corner. Soto's butt and his hips are going away from the pitch, okay? His body's going the opposite direction. 99.999% of high-level hitters cannot even hit that pitch because they're going in the opposite direction. They flail at it, their hands cut across, they can't even touch the pitch. But Juan Soto's hands stay so far back, allowing him to adjust to whatever pitch is thrown. Most guys who leak their front side like that cannot hit that pitch because their hands will drift forward with them while their front side pulls off. Soto can hit it because he keeps his hands back and stays connected, and there's not a single pitch that he can't hit. And listen, Taylor, All those three components for Juan Soto is why right now he, obviously combined with his elite mentality and approach at the plate on a pitch-by-pitch basis, are why Juan Soto is going to be a Hall of Famer and why he has completely transformed this Yankees lineup, Taylor.
Yeah, I can't add much hitting analysis to that because I think that's that was pretty much as thorough as you can be. But I did pull up this quote while you were talking from Soto himself, and because I think you brought up a good point of body control. You know, when you think of somebody with really good plate discipline, you automatically, and I do as well, like I think of eyes and I think of vision, and that is part of it, like you mentioned. But a lot of it is your body, and what he said is for your eyes to be good, this and this, tapping his head and his chest, have to be good. You have to control your body. You have to balance with your body to see the ball well, because if your body is going too much forward, every ball looks like a fastball, every one. With the speed that those pitches are coming in from a major league pitcher, like you don't have any time to make an adjustment, really, if you start off moving the wrong way. So body control is something that I actually underestimated with his swing, apparently.
100%. And that's something that I talk about with my kids a lot. It's like, if you're in Little League and the kid's throwing 40 miles an hour and, you know, you go forward, you're going to be fine. The ball's coming in at 40 miles an hour.
Right.
When you get to the MLB, and by the time the kids I'm coaching, if they get to the MLB, they're all going to be throwing 110 miles an hour, apparently. Yeah. Okay. By the time they get to the MLB, if you're going even a little bit forward and the ball's going 110 miles an hour forward, you're speeding the ball up by 5, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour. Now it's 118 instead of 110.
That's
you know?
kind of
so
like,
it's like
the inverse of extension from a pitcher. That's like negative extension from a hitting perspective almost.
Exactly. 100%. So that's something, again, and the reason why Juan Soto can see the pitch so well is because he's so solid, and oh my God, it makes me he's so solid in his lower half, dude. He's exactly what you want in your lower half. It's obviously easier for him because he's a big, strong ass dude and he's got huge legs and he's strong in his lower half, but he's so strong in that lower half that he can stay in that spot. He can stay back, because staying back's a struggle for a lot of people, because it takes a lot of strength in your lower half. It takes a lot, because you're trying to do a hard forward move with your backside and you're trying to stay back at the same time. It's not an easy move to do, but Juan Soto can do it because he's so strong and so solid in his base that it's immaculate. I like when we took a couple weeks off and I was like, man, I want to talk about Juan Soto's swing, because I've been watching his swing every single day, basically watching Yankee games, and it's just an unbelievable swing. There's a reason why he is who he is, and it's because his swing and his mechanics and his mindset is just immaculate. And that's why I don't care if we have to pay him $7 billion. I want to re-sign Juan Soto this offseason, Taylor. I don't know about you.
It's crazy because even after, I think it's been 13 games, I have a hard time looking to the next few years and not imagining Juan Soto is going to be in this lineup. And it's crazy that after 12 games, I think unanimously among Yankees fans, it's like, no, this guy is coming back. Like, he is family. He is in. We need this guy. And really, we're getting a little bit off topic with this, but like, I do think that it is kind of a move that needs to happen. Like, that's a move that needs to happen if the Yankees want to extend their championship window. I think that's the type of move, because we talked about it preseason. Like, I don't know, the window with, the Judge Cole window, as people call it, kind of felt like it was starting to close a little bit. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I feel like now we have a little bit more time if Soto is still in the mix, and if 100%. We can maintain a balanced lineup like this and have pitching depth, and there's really no reason that can't continue. Just gotta pay Juan Soto, pay the man what he wants. I don't care.
Pay him.
I don't care how much you go over the luxury tax. It's gonna be worth it. Get this Hall of Famer. Getting real biased here. I want the Cooperstown Juan Soto plaque to be in a Yankees uniform. That's what I want. That's beautiful. It's beautiful, man. Yeah, I mean, listen, you said after 13 games. I think we were all sold after the Astros series. I mean, I was like, retire his number after the Astros series. I don't even care. Like, he had 2-3 game winning hits. Had the game winning throw out at home, obviously in game 1. Like, unreal. I talked about the hater at bat. Like, everyone sold after one series with this guy. That's how he is who he is. And like we mentioned, it's not just tough to do in New York. Like, it takes a long time to gain trust with Yankees fans. A long time. And he did it almost immediately.
Right away.
And there's a reason for that.
And it was his success in New York was so predictable because he's just got a demeanor like it doesn't matter where I'm at. Like I'm going to have success. And now his demeanor fits perfectly in New York too. He's just got that confidence, that swag that New York wants to see, and he's got it, And obviously we talked about the sheer impact that one player adding one player into, obviously they added Verdugo and, Volpe's gotten a lot better, but the addition of Soto, none of that matters if Juan Soto isn't in the lineup. Let's be real.
I agree.
If Juan Soto isn't in that lineup, none of those other guys being there or improving matters, because Juan Soto being there has changed everything about the culture, changed everything about the lineup. And like we talked about, pay that guy whatever the hell he wants, because he is one of the best players we will ever see, one of the best hitters we will ever see. And it's a pleasure watching him hit the baseball and just watching him take a pitch. Like you mentioned, Taylor, it's a pleasure watching him do everything hitting related, because that guy is just unbelievable. But we'll stop talking about Juan Soto finally at long last, even though I could probably talk about Juan Soto for another 5 hours on this program. But let's move on, man. Let's move on to these division winners, man, because finally let's go to an actual MLB discussion of, we have seen other teams besides the Yankees get off to hot starts in their divisions. Some the least bit surprising, as the Dodgers are leading the NL West and the Braves are leading the NL East. But some more surprising, as the Guardians lead the AL Central with the red hot Royals right on their heels. The Brewers and Pirates are duking it out in the NL Central right now, while the Rangers are unsurprisingly in first in the AL West, but followed closely by the Angels as of now, with both the Mariners and the Astros struggling to find their footing in a crazy start to the season. So Taylor, tell me which division leaders will stay on top by the end of the season this year.
Well, the Dodgers obviously stay on top of their division. The Braves probably. Obviously, with Strider out, it definitely feels like they're a little bit vulnerable. I do think they still have enough young pitching depth to fill in, and obviously with that offense, like, you don't even need that much pitching when you've got Acuna, Olsen, Ozuna, Albies, Riley. Just probably the most stacked lineup from 1 through 9 in the league. But the Phillies are not going to lie down, and they're also in the mix right now, and I like the way they're looking. But I would still say I think the Braves are going to stay on top of that division over the course of 162. The Central divisions are interesting because really every team in both Central divisions, except for the White Sox, has a chance to win the division. And we talked about it preseason, like these two divisions last year, we went into the year being like, these are going to be kind of miserable divisions, and all of the teams except for the White Sox have improved at least marginally, and now they're all on such an even playing field. I think these are the two most interesting division races, because really, like, it could go any number of ways. The Pirates and the Guardians have obviously got off to really hot starts, but I don't know that they're going to stay on top of those divisions, and that's not throwing shade at them. That's more just saying that, like, any of these teams could win that division. I will say I do love the Royals making a run, because I got that early bet in on them to win the division when the odds were still crazy, so I'm loving that. I'm loving my Bobby Witt Jr. MVP pick right now.
Looks great.
And I'm feeling really good about them. They've just got such a cool vibe. Swept the Astros, which brings me to the AL West. Last year around this time, we had a very similar conversation with the Astros. We had that panic or patience conversation, and I was basically like, I'm not feeling great, but I'm not panicked yet. And honestly, this year, I'm trending a little bit more towards panic than I was last year, because at a certain point, there's a difference between getting off to a bad start and getting absolutely wrecked. They got swept by the Yankees to open the year in Houston. Not a good start. Getting swept by the Royals. Like, the Royals are good, but they shouldn't be sweeping the Astros. And you take into account that 2 of their wins were basically just Raimel Blanco throwing no-hitters, which, you can't really expect. You can't expect that every game. So I'm definitely a little bit worried about them, because some of the pitching depth that they thought they had has not been working out. The 3-headed monster that people were all excited about, not working well so far. Obviously, like, that's going to positively regress the more the year goes on. But they have these 3 guys at the top, but who's in the middle? Who's going to get them to those guys? And that's been a big problem for them as well. So I'm a little bit worried about the Astros. And honestly, like, I don't want to be down on my Mariners too early, but I'm a little worried about that offense. And the pitching hasn't been good, which is really concerning. All that being said, I do kind of feel like the Rangers are going to stay on top of this division, and they're only going to get stronger as the year continues because they've got, guys like Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Young, hopefully coming back soon, DeGrom, Scherzer, Molly, and Lorenzen all on the IL. On the pitching side, that should be coming back. Wyatt Langford should only get better over the course of the year as he adjusts to big league pitching. And even Evan Carter right now is kind of slumping. I think he's still getting on base, but he's not really making great contact, and I expect that to change. So I think this team really is just going to keep getting stronger as the year continues, and you could make the argument that the Astros will as well as their pitching comes back, but I don't know. I kind of just I'm not feeling too good about the Astros' chances right now.
Taylor, I'm not going to disagree with you too much there. I'm going to get into it. I'm gonna get into it when I go, but yeah, it's not looking too good in Houston. Like you mentioned, it's not like they're just losing; they're getting smoked. Like they're getting pounded. Like it's not even close, So yeah, it is very concerning in Houston. But Taylor, like you mentioned, I mean, the Dodgers are almost a lock to win that division. I mean, they're just gonna win the division. There's nothing really to talk about there. The Braves aren't as much of a lock. I mean, especially without Strider. But regular season, I'll still put my money on them. I think they've still got a better team built for the regular season than Philly. So I think they're a relatively safe bet. The AL East, we just talked about the Yankees a lot. Obviously, they're going to be here to stay, but I think it's still a coin flip between them and Baltimore to me because the Orioles are just so good, man. If they weren't in my team's division and horrifying to my personal fandom, I would enjoy watching their games 100 times more because it is an amazing watch. Okay, that AL East is very interesting. I want to give a shout out to Boston's pitching staff as well because I was really down on them to start the year, and they have been lights out. So shout out to Boston. They have been very, very good. I don't know if it keeps up, but they have been very good to start off the year. They've proved me wrong so far. So shout out to Boston for that. The AL West is very interesting. Okay, I do expect Texas to be there by season's end. Obviously, I, like Taylor, am concerned with how Seattle's pitching and offense has looked. God, the offense. I thought the offense was going to be better. The offense doesn't look good either.
Looking bad.
It's a damn shame. Julio is struggling so far. That was my MVP pick, not nearly going as well as your MVP pick, Taylor. God, do I want to sit here and dance on the Astros' graves 14 games into the season, okay? But I am not going to. I think both of those teams, both the Mariners and the Astros, find a way to stay in the race down the stretch. I think they'll both be okay. I'm not completely jumping off my Seattle AL West winning pick yet, but I am concerned. If it was panic or patience, it would be way more panic than patience with me for Seattle because, yeah, George Kirby hasn't looked good. The entire pitching staff hasn't looked good. The offense hasn't looked good. So yeah, it hasn't looked good in Seattle so far. But I'll tell you what, Taylor, these central divisions, like you mentioned, are going to be so much fun to watch, okay? Everyone is a threat. The young talent, the stars, it's incredible. In the NL Central, it's the second straight year you look up in April and are like, damn, the Pirates are on the top and the Cardinals are on the bottom. Not what many people expected, okay? That's a real bad sign for the Cardinals, okay? Arenado and Goldschmidt both have been bad so far. Jordan Walker has been bad too. Sonny Gray came back to look good in his first start. They got to have some worry within all the other teams in the division looking really good because the Brewers just do it. The Brewers just do it, man. No matter what they got going on, they're just going to field a good ball club. Willie Contreras rakes like crazy every year. Yelich has been great. They find a way to pitch, and the Pirates too, man. I don't know. They started off last year hot too, and that pitching has showed up for them so far. Martin Perez has showed up. Look like they got something special with Jared Jones as well too. He looks really, really good. I don't know if either of them can stay on top of the division just because I don't know if their teams are deep enough for them to stay on top of the division. I do still really like the Cubs. They've gotten off to a start that I've really liked. They won a series against the Dodgers, which I don't know many people are going to be able to say throughout the season, So the division I want to talk about is the AL Central. And right now, I'm wishing I had balls, Taylor. I am wishing I had the balls to pick the Kansas City Royals to win the division. I talked about it, man. I was like, man, if I had any balls whatsoever, I'd pick the Royals, and it's been proven that I have no balls, and I should have picked the Royals, okay? Because the team with the best run differential in the MLB is the Kansas City Royals. They're 9-4 with a plus 39 run differential. They're 6th in runs scored, 4th in slugging, 4th in OPS, 4th in stolen bases, 3rd in home runs, while having the 7th fewest strikeouts in baseball. So they're putting the ball in play at a very high rate. Their pitching is 2nd in ERA, 8th in WHIP, and they have tied for the fewest amount of home runs given up as well. And this team has been awesome so far, Taylor. Like you mentioned, Bobby Witt, your MVP pick, looks unbelievable. He looks like a unanimous AL MVP at this point. He's looking amazing. And I just love the Royals. I'm wishing, like I said, I had balls to pick them at the beginning beginning of the year. And the Guardians look great too. I went Tigers for the preseason division prediction, but obviously that offense is not clicking at all yet. The pitching looks good, but the offense does not. So I'm a little bit nervous about my Tigers pick. And then you still got the Twins down there, whose offense has looked terrible, but I think they're still going to be a threat in this division as well too. So it's going to be an extremely fun division. I personally don't think the Guardians will stay on top, especially without Shane Bieber. That injury really sucks for them. I think it's going to be one of those next three that's going to end up getting it. But I think it's anybody's ball game in the AL Central, and I think that division is going to be one of our best division watches of the year, which is something that we haven't been able to say in recent years with the AL Central. No. So I'm really excited to see it.
Definitely not. And yeah, I think the Tigers, I still think that's a good division winner pick. I think that offense is just so young. Like they have so many young players that just need a little bit more time to adjust. So I kind of expected them to come out a little slow out of the gate. I think we are going to see that offense heat up, and the pitching has been good. So there's no reason that they can't go on a run. And shout out to MJ Melendez on the Royals. He's another guy that's really making a difference for that team. He's slugging .675 right now. On top of hitting .325 and getting on base at a .426 clip, 3 bombs. The big thing that made me, because I took their win total over, which I think was at like 73.5, if I remember right.
Something like that.
Which honestly, like even I was like, man, I don't know, that feels a little bit high, but I believe in this team. Like I would rather have, if I was like really strict value betting, I probably wouldn't have taken that. But I believe in what this team is doing and what this organization is doing. And we've seen the pitching really turn around. That was one of the things we were talking about preseason is like, I don't know if people realized how bad the starting pitching was for them last year. And then they bring in these kind of vanilla starting pitchers like Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha. Those are huge improvements over what they had last year, like by leaps and bounds. And then you have a full season of Cole Reagans at the top, who's already looking pretty good so far. And even Brady Singer has looked unbelievable over his first couple starts. We talked about him adapting his pitch mix. He added a 4-seam and a sweeper that he's implementing more, and apparently that's all working. So the bullpen is really the only question about this team. And like for the most part, they've held it down okay. Last year, that was a big weakness for them. But with more starting pitching, you're going to be able to use the bullpen more strategically. Whereas last season, if you're only getting 4 bad innings out of your starting pitching, like you don't have any wiggle room in the bullpen at all. You're just kind of throwing the guys out there that are rested enough. I think that we are going to see some of these guys put up better numbers this year because they're going to be put in better situations. So I do 100%. really like the Royals. I agree. I don't think the Guardians are going to stay on top. I think they're a really solid team. I think Bieber is a big loss for them. They still have a lot of good young pitching.
They do.
I just question kind of the overall firepower, and also I question whether that organization is going to commit to adding at the deadline or making the moves they're going to need to if they are close to winning the division, because in years past we've seen them not do that and not pull the trigger. So it's more of a doubt of the organization as a whole rather than the individual players on the roster right now, because they do have a ton of talent. But it's crazy. This is going to be one of the most interesting division races.
It's going to be awesome. And Taylor, kind of like you mentioned with Lugo and Wacha, you hear Brady Singer talk about those two, and it's like they've been huge in Brady Singer's kind of bounce back and just having veteran presences in clubhouses. I think that's something that veteran presences who have been through the ringer. Wacha's been in World Series, Lugo's been in deep playoff runs. They can teach you everything that you need to know about the position that you don't already know, right? And that's huge for a clubhouse, and that's something that people underestimate in terms of having a young team. You need some vets who are going to come in and teach you the right ways and teach you how to get things done. A team full of all young guys, it's hard to succeed because everybody's just trying to find their own footing and they don't really know how to be a team yet. The Royals have a perfect mix right now of good veterans and good young players, and right now they're gelling perfectly, and it is beautiful to watch. So yeah, I'm really excited about the Royals. I obviously still want my Tigers division winning prediction to come true, but if the Royals end up winning the division, I'm going to be just as hyped as if the Tigers win it, because I love this Royals team, and they're going to be extremely fun to watch. So, but that is going to be it for us here today for the Bush League Bros. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, comment down below your thoughts on the Yankees, on the Juan Soto stuff, and also give us your division winners, who you think is going to win the division at the end of the year, which of these guys you think is going to stay on top. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well, at Bush League Bros. Also follow at the House Call Sports on all platforms. If you like content from all sports, that is the place to go. And that is going to be it for us. Peace.
Do you think if somebody took $1,000 out of your bank account, how quickly do you think it would take you to notice?
$1,000, it would probably take me a couple weeks.
That's why I think it's crazy that people are like, how did Shohei not notice that $2 million was missing or whatever? And it's like, well, you're comparing yourself to Shohei Ohtani because you think that he's like you, and he's not like you.
He's not
at all.
He's not like you at all.
Don't even make that comparison.